you find yourself lost in Irvingland. A loud explosion and several sudden fires have the Jupiter 2 reeling. Once everything is out, Professor Robinson and Major West have a little surprise for Dr. Smith.
One of our atomizing fuel tanks isn't functioning properly. That's what caused the fire. Bottom line is that we have to land and repair it immediately, or we risk blowing up the entire ship.
Then by all means, let us do so.
See there? That's a cosmic cloud. I don't want to endanger the lives of those aboard without first checking it out.
So one of us will take the space pod and execute a test probe.
All right, we'll each draw one. The short one goes.
Smith, of course, immediately starts shaming the robot for not volunteering, but John says, no, this has to be done by a human. Take a guess who draws the short straw.
Once you reach the cloud, send back immediately. For the space pod, it's gone.
Yeah, the robot took it. Smith guilted him into going. He reports that the cloud is harmless and he's landing on the planet. When Smith heard the report, he relayed the information that the planet is harmless and the space pod is landing on the cloud. Once Will translated, everybody knew what to do.
Jupiter 2, robot reporting. All conditions appear to be... What is it? They have me!
Who have you and how did they get inside the space pod? They have to recover the robot, and they also have to repair the ship. Both will require landing on the planet.
Here, Smith, put this on. You'll need it.
Oh, no, Major, I think not. Perhaps I should stay aboard to tend to the children. After all, they do need some protection, you know.
Don, can I go out with you? I've just got to find the robot.
All right, Will. Come on, Smith.
Give Will the gun. He actually knows how to handle it.
This is nothing but a shell. No working parts inside.
No sign of the robot. None of these machines are operational. It's like a giant junkyard.
They can hear the robot groaning, and by the sound of it, he's not too far away. We don't know who he is yet, but we know one thing for sure. Our prop department got their money's worth out of that helmet.
Well, help.
Robot.
Good heavens, is there no end to your idiocy? Get down from there at once, you bumbling bird brain.
Do you really suppose he's up there by choice? But I suspect these are the sorts of lines that Jonathan Harris gave us with his constant rewrites, even though it makes no sense at all in context.
Looks like some sort of electromagnet.
That must be the control.
Well, let's not touch anything until we're sure of what we're doing.
I wonder what this one does.
Of course Smith is instantly defiant. As a 50-year-old, 2-year-old, he has to practice being contrary, as well as looking with his hands instead of his eyes. The robot has no idea what happened. Something grabbed him from behind, which raises the question of why the pod door was open, but there are other things to sort out. Like if there's anybody else down here.
Look out!
Perhaps we should continue this discussion inside the ship because we seem to have a steady stream of weird stuff falling from the sky.
I think I'd better check your central diode.
Thank you, Will.
I'm afraid I shall never be the same, never.
That got old a long time ago, too. The first couple of times he tried to hide behind Will or Penny, it was sort of amusing. But by the end of the second season, it just got trite and not especially believable. It's as I've said many times, the Smith character never grew even a smidgen. 3 years in a row, he's doing and saying all the same things over and over and over, and he's the star of the show. I would venture to say I think that's at least one reason why the show ended here. They genuinely and truly were out of ideas. But again, we've known that for months. The only good thing about the whole hide behind Will thing is, over the past few years, Will got taller, so he provides at least a little more protection than he used to.
I think it's alive.
cannot be real.
I'm Will Robinson from the planet Earth.
Never heard of the place. You are the strangest looking junk that's ever been dropped here.
Considering the shape he's in, I'm not sure he should be calling anybody else junk.
Nice piece of metal. Should melt down very nicely.
Melt down?
In my blast furnace. All space junk falls onto this planet.
Don't bother asking how it gets there. Explanations are for squares, man.
Then I melt it down. And I keep on stockpiling it. I have cornered the intergalactic junk market.
The walking bobblehead doesn't seem to grasp the notion that someone would actually land here. If it's on the surface of the planet, it must be space junk.
You are sure you do not want to sell me this spaceship? Huh?
No, thank you, Mr. Junkman.
Too bad. See you.
As I said multiple times throughout the series, everybody in the universe knows how to do that except us. This is also an indication that we're out of ideas. The ship is repaired and ready for a test firing.
We're not lifting. Don, what is it?
I don't know. We're getting enough thrust.
This spaceship is incapable of flight, Major West. It is being held by the incredible magnetic force of the junk planet.
That's right. The Junkman isn't going to let them leave. He's determined to have the ship, the robot, the pod, their shoelaces, and probably their hair just for good measure. He's another intergalactic bully who couldn't care less how his actions affect anyone else as long as he gets what he wants. To hear our writing crew tell it, we don't want to go out there because everybody in the universe isn't...
Mother, we're unable to lift off.
Really? Well, we're in more trouble than that. Our entire food supply has been contaminated by some sort of a rust blight. The hydroponic garden is ruined.
Oh, but we still have our freezer units.
No, we haven't. Whatever this rust blight is, it's resistant to cold. There's not a thing that's edible, even in the lockers.
You can bet our space Frenchman did that, too. As I said, everybody in the universe.
You are never going to leave here. Nothing ever leaves the junk planet.
Please just shoot him and let's go. No, the Robinsons prefer to sit around and worry and wonder if they can talk to this whatever he is. He is threatening your lives. He's destroyed your food supply to try and starve you into selling him the ship. Why should you try to make nice with him? If that's my family he's threatening, the next time he appears, I pick him up by that helmet and start shaking him to see how many parts fall off. Then I offer to start removing more parts unless he frees the ship and lets us leave. When he does, I'm gathering up all the stuff that fell off him, giving it to the robot, and letting him create a kinetic sculpture out of them to keep him occupied during the next long flight. As if to emphasize the fact that we're bereft of new ideas, Dr. Smith is cooking his boot.
Well, we're gonna go look for some food. Would you like to come with us?
And leave this delicious tidbit uneaten? Certainly not.
The rest of the family is out searching for edibles. You should do your part.
I have no interest in your moronic moralizing. Begone!
Fine, if they do find food, don't give him any. Let him enjoy his delicious footwear. But unlike the little red hen, they're not willing to cut out the lazy moochers.
Greetings, Earth Machine.
What a fearful din. Don't I have enough trouble without you shaking and clanking all over the place?
I'm surprised he didn't take umbrage at being called a machine, but he's too wrapped up in himself and his own creature comforts to think of anything else. The Junkman can't seem to grasp that Earth people can't eat metal, but he has his own issues.
What I need most is a stability unit.
The stability unit? My robot has one. Splendid one, as I remember. Yes, of course he has. And you need one. How very interesting. Tell me, my dear sir, if I were to get you this stability unit, could you arrange to get me some proper food?
And you can bet he won't share it with the family. We've seen him do this before, too. Remember when he sold the robot to the space trader and hid all the food? I'm not exaggerating when I say this episode is 100% recycled ideas. And by the way, Smith, how much food? A meal? 2? And what happens when you need the robot? But if there's one thing we've established in this show, it's Dr. Smith's philosophy of life. Me! The Junkman knows an easy mark when he sees one, so he offers Smith some beef stroganoff. He doesn't say how much, just that he can get stuff from the food lockers of junk ships that crash here. And by the way, he says plainly that their food supply is the only one on the planet infected with that blight. But Dr. Zachary Me Smith will miss the implications of that.
Beef stroganoff. Oh, joy. Oh, bliss. Oh, good heavens. Why didn't I think to order crepe Suzette for dessert?
Because that would cost extra and you only have one robot. Duh. Now he has to talk the robot out of his stability unit.
I wish to discuss an important matter with you.
My memory banks are filled with the secret talks we have had in the past. The results were always the same. The treacherous, selfish, cowardly Dr. Smith betrayed the sweet, gentle, and trusting robot.
At least somebody remembers some of that stuff. Not that it'll do any good. All Smith has to say is it will save the family, and the robot will do anything up to and including sacrificing himself.
That was the old Zachary Smith. I've turned over a new leaf. I'm acting now for the good of all. Believe me.
I do not, but proceed.
By now, he's turned that leaf over so many times, the poor little thing is feeling queasy. He's used those same words at least 4 times before. I'll be honest, this is torture.
Oh, we're so grateful to you, Dr. Smith. I don't think Will and Penny could have gone another minute without food.
Still your fears, my dear. Our starvation is over. From now on, the Junkman will supply us with everything we need.
So he did share with the others. Why do I have a feeling that's the Junkman's doing, not Dr. Smith's?
Just the same, I think I'll check the spaceship. And if anything's missing...
A typical Major West reaction. Always treat kindness with distrust.
Now, look, Smith, we appreciate the food. But if you're up to your old tricks, heaven help you.
That's right. If you've done something shady, he'll talk even meaner to you. Apparently, the Junkman wants even more parts from the robot because Smith is dragging him to the Junkman's cave where he melts this stuff down. From there, the blocks go into a blast furnace. Perilous machine established.
Mr. Junkman! Dr. Smith, I was getting worried.
And the Junkman seems to be doing well with his upgrades, but he says he needs lots more before he's the machine he wants to be.
I have decided to exchange my electrical system to transistors. And I will need yours.
That is not one of the parts we agreed on before.
If my suggestion is not agreeable, then just forget it. Sorry, Dr. Smith. I have no food for you.
And what happens when there's nothing left of the robot, Smith? He'll move on to the ship, and you'll have to let the others know what you did. And what happens when he's used up the ship? Then what do you bargain with? Smith knew he was getting in bed with a hustler who has the ethics of a jackal. He didn't realize the Junkman is a better hustler than he is, and now everybody gets to suffer. I told Don to shoot him when he had the chance. And by the way, he's decided he wants to see the universe, and he knows how he's going to do it.
I plan to take your ship, and nothing will stop me.
And the robot is disabled now, so he can't do anything about it. Well, Smith, you've done it again. On the ship, Don has discovered some things.
According to the tests we just made, the Jupiter 2 isn't being held on this planet by a magnetic field.
Are you sure?
We checked our calculations twice.
What could be holding us?
Well, my guess would be some kind of a machine that also attracts junk metal to this area.
Then all we have to do is find that machine and turn it off.
Yeah, it's that finding it part that's the sticking point. There's a squillion machines on this planet, and searching them all for the right one could take multiple generations. Judy suggests having the robot search, but he's really been acting strange lately. Smith says it's the effects of being grabbed by that electromagnet, so they should know it's anything but that.
Why weren't you inside the spaceship?
My fault. did not have the strength.
What's the matter with you?
Nothing. I am in great shape.
Might be time for some diagnostics, guys. The Junkman has completely redesigned himself with the robot's parts. He says, I'm perfect now. I don't need anything more.
One never knows when one needs a spare diode unit.
Put it back in your robot.
My dear Mr. Junkman, very often a spare part means the difference between life and death. Now then, have you got my food ready?
Our agreement is at an end, Dr. Smith. There is no longer anything I need from you.
I am so shocked I may lay awake at night pondering what a surprise that was.
Mr. Junkman, you must help us. Just think how much I've done for you.
You have done nothing but make me unhappy.
I don't understand.
Before you gave me new parts, I was content with my lot as the galactic junkman. Now I am dissatisfied with my little trash pile and wish to conquer bigger and better junkyards.
How is that his fault? You forced them, you destroyed their food supply, you demanded the robot's parts, you got what you wanted, take it and quit your belly aching, you big petty baby. Smith says, no problem, when we leave we can take you with us. I'll just tell Major West we have a passenger, you release the ship, and we can all get away from here.
No. I have a better idea.
Anything, sir. Anything.
You will get me aboard your spaceship without the others knowing. Then I will turn off the magnetic machine. Once we're out in space, it will be too late to bring us back.
Didn't he say before the commercial break that he was just going to take the ship? Or does he plan to do that once they're away in space? Or did our writer pause for a few drinks and forget what he said before the break? He promises more food, and that's enough for Smith. Give this Polly a cracker and he'll do anything you say.
Don, keep your radio on.
Check. We're leaving for the North Quadrant now.
All right.
We'll keep in touch, Dad.
Come on.
Penny, stay close to the ship.
Okay, be careful, Dad.
I will.
Remember that urban legend I mentioned last time about how Guy Williams and June Lockhart got written out for laughing at the talking carrot? Somebody forgot to tell them, hence we have now seen both of them. You'd think that would put the legend to bed once and for all, but this is America, where a good tale is way preferable to the truth any day. And when you're done with that jetpack, I want to ride.
I'll hide you in my quarters. Follow me. What are you doing?
He's doing exactly what he said he would. So the writer didn't forget, but Smith did. That makes a lot more sense.
I am locking us in, and everyone else out.
Open that hatch immediately.
Do not anger me, Dr. Smith, or I will leave you behind with the others.
What doesn't make sense is he doesn't have a pilot. He says, I have the robot's memories, so I know everything about this ship. But the robot never learned how to fly this ship, only how to monitor it and maintain it. If he learned off screen at some point in this series, we the viewers were never told about it. Don and Judy get back to the ship just in time to watch it take off.
How can you dock the space pod in the Jupiter, too, while it's still in orbit?
The toughest part comes after docking, to get to the control room section.
Don, do you think you should try? Maybe you should wait until Dad gets back.
Or until Will has the robot working again.
We don't have a choice. If we wait, the Junkman could blast out of orbit into space.
He has to try, but he may or may not get there.
Morning. One of your friends hopes to join you, Dr. Smith. We shall have to discourage him with a little warning rocket shot.
Because suddenly the Jupiter 2 has rockets? They're enough to make West turn back.
You must return to the family, Will.
Not unless you go with me.
No. This is where I belong now. In the Junkyard.
Everybody in this show has a death wish, including the robot. At the first sign of peril, someone's first instinct is to give up or sacrifice themselves. It's too bad Smith isn't a psychiatrist, because these guys need some serious analysis. Will could give the robot exactly what he needs by yanking the power pack, but we only do that when it'll put someone in peril. While the robot puts himself on the conveyor belt and starts toward the furnace, Will is determined to talk to the Junkman. He has all the robot's memories, so maybe Will can tickle something inside him. I'm not sure why he has to do that to talk to the guy on the radio, but again, just go with it.
Mr. Junkman. Mr. Junkman, this is Will Robinson. Please, sir, I must speak with you. Activate your memory banks that you took from our robot. Now, do you remember all the good times we've had and how many times you saved my life?
Yes?
That's enough for him to let Will dock and talk to him. But in true fashion, since lying is his native language, he has ulterior motives.
Your company is preferable to Dr. Smith. Traveling with him as a companion would be just intolerable.
He's going to send Smith back to the planet in the space pod. Will says, you can't do that. He has his faults, but he's a person just like the rest of us, and he and everybody else will starve to death. Junkman doesn't care. He's a machine. Why should he care what happens to Smith or anybody else?
All right, then I'll leave with Dr. Smith.
No, wait. Don't leave.
William, don't forget me, William.
You took a lot of important parts from our robot, but there's one part you didn't get. His heart.
Junkman says he doesn't have one. Will says, oh yes he does. We know because he's capable of loving. You're not.
Maybe the robot was ugly and clumsy, and you're big and handsome.
Clearly, we have very different definitions of that word.
But you'll never be as good. The robot could love, and you can't. Even if you live for 10,000 years, you'll always be lonely and unhappy.
He's not wrong. Look what just happened. He thought those upgrades and stuff were what he wanted, and when he got them, it wasn't enough. For the selfish individuals, such as the Junkman or Dr. Smith, it's never enough. Nothing ever is. That's why they're miserable their whole lives and why it's always someone else's fault.
How does one learn to love, Will Robinson?
I don't know. It starts with kindness to others, and then there's trust and respect, and, well, there it is. Love.
There is one repeated theme in this show that was used skillfully enough that it didn't become trite or a cliche, and that's the Will Robinson magic. One more time we see it in action as he convinces Junkman to take the ship back. Now we have to save the robot.
Will!
Don't touch him. He's very hot.
No, I am just scorched. I tried to destroy myself, Will, but I cannot believe it. Something happened to the heat of the flames. They would not consume me.
It was love that consumed him before the flames could.
I am thoroughly, hopelessly, indescribably in love with my wife. And if I put my hand on a hot stove burner, I'm still going to have to go to the emergency room. But I guess things are different in space.
I do believe these are genuine diamonds.
Let it go, Dr. Smith. It is junk, too, like everything else on this planet. When it comes out of the atomic blast furnace, it will be nothing but useless carbon.
Which is exactly what it is now. He never has grasped the idea that things worth money on Earth have little to no value out here. Again, no growth at all. Seeing him let go of a few ideas like this one would have been welcome developments. Jonathan Harris said he wanted more creative control over his character, but his creativity was sorely lacking. He created a cardboard cutout that knew how to scream like a 10-year-old girl and never went beyond it.
Help! Get me down from here! Help me, I'm innocent!
Let go of the thing.
My auto detection units are apparently not fully attuned.
It's me, you idiot! Save me!
Climb off the belt, genius. The robot will throw the switch and stop everything, whereupon we'll get a last bit of mindless banter between these two.
Thank your trusty general utility, non-theorizing environmental robot.
Stop chattering! To think that I might have been reduced to nothingness by this hideous furnace.
That is an incorrect statement. The normal humanoid is 98% fluid and fat, and would be reduced to 2% of mineral. You, Dr. Smith, are 100% fat. Nothing whatsoever would be left.
Isn't that what he said? He'd be reduced to nothingness? The robot's new parts may need some tweaking.
Oh, the pain, the pain. Useless carbon. We shall see.
And the series ends not with a bang, but with a whimper, or maybe a simper since it was Smith. The first season roped almost everybody in, but starting in the second season, things got really imbalanced, and I'm afraid I have to conclude that Jonathan Harris was the reason. We'll never know why, but Irwin Allen basically handed the show over to him. As a result, we got the same storyline more than 20 times. Now, I do have to say that in the latter half of the third season, the other characters did start to get some screen time, and Judy finally even got an episode of her own. In case you hadn't guessed, that was the episode that I wanted so much to comment on that I was willing to finish the series. But you know who never got their own episode? Maureen. She was always there, steady as a rock and keeping the others fed, clothed, and more than once she was the one who showed real wisdom. But she never got featured. She was the chief co-star of the show, and she was most always in the background or secondary. I know that was a point of contention throughout the latter two seasons. I don't know if Mr. Harris caught Mr. Allen in a compromising position or what the deal was, but thanks to that, a few people really got the shaft. Don never got an episode of his own, though he did do several in which it was him and Dr. Smith, so he did get a little bit of prominence, but not nearly enough. Mark Goddard is a better actor than to be treated like that. And treating June Lockhart like that should get somebody a couple of days in jail. As I mentioned, the cast had no idea the show had been canceled. Irwin Allen had ordered some scripts for a next season, but it's difficult to tell whether he knew and was just going through the motions for whatever reason. I've speculated, based on the faceplant and quality that our scripts took, that the writers knew. The guy at the top of the network was gunning for the show and he got what he wanted. But it was handled in about the rattiest way possible, and it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, as it should have. Yet, for all that, it's one of the most iconic shows of the 20th century. Despite its descent into the Zachary Smith Show, despite some of the really idiotic scripts, goofy aliens, and recycled plots, we love this show. We always have, and we probably always will. It touches something in us, that sense of exploration and wonder, and it was a genuine sensation in its time. We consider the effects pretty cheesy now, but at the time they were cutting edge. This show did lots of things that had never been done before, especially regarding special effects and stunts, and countless other shows picked up those ideas and used them. The show isn't just iconic, it's legendary. Look at the remakes. We can't get enough of the Robinsons in any incarnation. And it all started right here. It may have ended poorly, but that's not the part we remember. We remember the good times. John and Don saving the day. Penny making friends. Judy looking spectacular. Will growing up and learning new things while he tries to keep Dr. Smith from getting himself killed or turned into a papaya. Oh, we'll make fun of the vegetables, the space captain screaming for Mr. Kidno. We'll discuss the fact that we're the only creatures in the universe that can't teleport or travel by Irwin Allen explosion, even though Irwin Allen lives on this planet. We'll do all those things just as I've been doing all the things a reviewer is supposed to do. And then we'll go watch our favorite episodes again and again and love it. We'll shout, "Danger, danger," along with the robot. We'll whine, "Oh, the pain," along with Dr. Smith. And we'll beg Don to punch Smith in the nose just once. We'll make fun of the show, and we'll still love it. As we know, Bill Mumy went on to have a successful career that's still going on. Angela Cartwright likewise. She's still keeping busy and frankly still looks gorgeous. Mark Goddard continues to act, and during the 80s he spent a lot of time on soap operas of all things. Marta Kristen is still working, but she's kind of stuck with the Judy Robinson image. Fortunately, she's okay with that. She and Angela Cartwright get together sometimes to do nostalgia shows and such. It would appear that she's happy, and that's what matters. Jonathan Harris never managed to escape the Dr. Smith image and found himself getting typecast as less than likable villains. In the 70s, he moved into voice acting, and he died in 2002. Guy Williams quit acting when the show folded. He bopped around for a bit and eventually fell in love with Argentina. He retired to there in the 70s and died in Buenos Aires in 1989. And what about the remaining member of the cast? Let me put it this way. I adore Betty White. She is truly a national treasure, and she's got nothing on June Lockhart. At 96, she's still going strong, acting and making appearances in all the things famous people do. And those eyes can still take your breath away. Thank you so much for making this journey with me. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Anybody who's seen this show won't forget it. I can't think of a better legacy for a series.